Excuse me. Hello, everybody. Of course, you start a video with a hiccup, right? Yeah, okay, sure. I wanted to talk about this duology. It was a lot of fun. A lot of nostalgia, for me anyway. It's middle grade, but I think young adults will enjoy it. I can tell you a 50-year-old enjoyed it. Is the Camp Murderface duology. Camp Murderface and Camp Murderface 2, Doom in the Deep. It's set in the 1980s at a summer camp. And the summer camp happens to be in Ohio. Guess who went to summer camp in Ohio in the 80s? Yeah. Luckily, none of this stuff happened while I was at camp. Our main characters are Tez and Corin. Corin? Corin. Tez is, I don't know, like a person of color. I don't remember what it said his background is. I want to say, well, I don't know, it might be at the beginning here. It doesn't really play into what goes on in the book, but it is kind of nice, you know, that it's representative of something else, you know, is not the same old boring white kids at camp. Does it even say? Most of the boys are various nationalities or backgrounds, heritages. I don't know, it's not popping up right off the bat. I don't remember what it said he was. But like I said, it doesn't really play into the story. Corin is a young white girl who's into BMX racing, and important thing about Tez is he's got Marfan's syndrome, so it was a lot for him to even get to go to camp. His parents are very overprotective and were afraid something would happen. He's got a weak heart, you know, and overexertion could kill him, kind of a thing. So they were very reluctant to even let him go to camp. If they knew the stuff that was going to go on. Let's see. It says on the back, the year 1983, the place, Ohio, the camp, scary as heck. This place is haunted, he says, not looking at me. He stares deep into the distance. Haunted is just another word for magical, I say. He locks eyes with me. Haunted is just another word for evil. So, in the first book, it introduces us to the group of characters. We meet Corin and Tez on the bus on the way to camp. The counselors, Gavin and Scary Mary, are British and pretty much bullies. They're pretty horrible people. But they find out that the camp itself has a history. Every 20 or 30 years, it opens up. Something bad happens, they shut down. A little while later, camp opens up. Something bad happens, it gets shut down. One of the times, and I want to say they said 1883, but I don't know that that's true, because something else made me question that, and I meant to look it up. When was plastic created, like plastic beads? Because they were talking about these 3 girls who went missing in 1883, and when they found, this is spoilers. Sorry, there's going to be a couple small spoilers. How they get to the point is pretty cool. But when they found evidence of these girls, they found plastic beads. Now, if they were from 1883, I don't think they would have had plastic beads. They might have had clay beads. They might have had shell beads. But I just don't think plastic was a thing yet. That really didn't come in to common usage until the early 1900s, like the 20s, 30s, or later. Unless I'm completely off on my timeline. But I don't think they would have had plastic beads in the 1880s. 1980s, yeah. Anyway, Tez and Corin notice some weird stuff going on, and they try to figure it out. They become really good friends, kind of best friends, I guess you could say. And matter of fact, in the book too, they call themselves best friends. So they are trying to solve this mystery of, what happened to these girls and what are these strange events that keep happening at camp. Like, they were sent out to gather wood the first day to make a campfire, and Corin found this weird piece of wood, and she almost threw it back, but she got stopped by her counselor, and they ended up putting it into the fire, and she and Tez saw 3 faces of girls screaming, and apparently it was the 3 girls that they had heard about that had disappeared. But every time the camp opens, campers go missing, people go missing, weird stuff happens. Pretty interesting, actually. This, I really think, I know is supposed to be middle grade, but I really think young adults would enjoy it, especially the younger end of young adult. They do the usual camp type stuff. There's a lot of adventure. It's definitely an adventure. With a mystery kind of tied into it. Horror. If you have somebody who's interested in middle grade, or who reads middle grade and is interested in horror, this is a good place to stick your toe in, because it's not overly nasty. There's not a lot of gore. The second one has more than the first one. Second book takes place directly after the events of the first book. They're still at camp the same summer. They think they've solved the problem, but they haven't. They discover a new problem. Gavin and Scary Mary, the counselors, have disappeared and been replaced with new counselors, which is very strange that they would be replacing counselors in the middle of the summer. And the story is that they went back to England. But all of the counselors at the camp have been replaced. Throughout the summer, they've noticed that one by one the counselors are being replaced. There's a reason. The back of this one says the year 1983, the place, Ohio, the camp, still totally haunted. Oh, I don't know. Can I tell you what it says? I didn't mention though. Okay, one of the legends of the area is that there are vampire devils that live in the lake. So it says, now that the vampire devils beneath the lake have been awakened, Camp Sweetwater is in big trouble. The first victims, Tez and Corin's counselors, Gavin and Scary Mary. The camp director insists the missing counselors have just quit and gone home, but Tez and Corin don't believe it. They know something much more evil is afoot. With the help of their cabin mates, Tez and Corin set out to investigate the disappearances, but what they find is a horror closer than the bottom of the lake, and it might just spell the end for all of them. Oh boy, the battle at the end is really something. And there's a little bit of a roller coaster of emotion going on. We get to know some of the other kids a little bit more. They bring in some new elements, like there's a camp radio station and there's a photography unit where they can go and learn photography, which is awesome because that's where I got my interest in photography. And then I went crazy and went to art school for it before everything went digital, and I don't know anything about digital. So if you want old school black and white film photography, I'm your girl. Anyway, so like I said, there's a lot of nostalgia in these books for me. They also had an archery unit open up. So there's things like that, and the 8 kids in the cabins in, was it the Oak Cabin? In their unit, 4 girls, 4 boys, they get divided up into these 3 different things. 2 of them go to radio, and a couple of them go to archery, and a couple of them go to photography. And it all comes in handy. Each of them end up with skills that they end up needing when the big battle comes. So I will not say too much more about that. Hopefully I'm intriguing you enough to pick these up, because I think these are really good books. Definitely worth a read. Camp Murderface by Josh Burke and Sandra Mitchell. Hopefully I've given you enough to make you go, ooh, that sounds good. It's not going to be like a Friday the 13th situation. We don't have like a masked murderer running around slashing people. It's nothing like that. But there are ghosts. There are these vampire, devil, demon things. There's, I don't think I can tell you that. That's pretty much a big, big spoiler. Can't tell you that one. There's some very interesting things going on. But think of camp as being kind of an isolated area, because that plays into it. Adults aren't listening to the kids. Adults are a lot of the problem. It's the kids that are noticing things, the kids that are dealing with the things that they notice, because the adults are like, yeah, you're just kids, you don't know anything. When will adults learn that kids know stuff? Kids are perceptive, they're not stupid. Anyway, I just wanted to do a quick little mention of these, because I think these are pretty good. Highly recommend. And actually the second book is a little bit longer than the first book. Of course, I don't know if that has to do with the size, but I don't think, it's like almost 100 pages more. I don't think that little bit of a size difference counts for that. This one's 339, and this was $4 something. $4.19. Not quite 100 pages, like 80 pages difference. Definitely worth a read. Might be fun to read, have like a reading time with your young ones if you've got kids that read middle grade type books. These are like older middle grade, young adult, I think. I would say 5th grade maybe? I think 5th graders would probably love it, because I think the kids in the book are around that age, maybe a little bit older. Some of them are a little bit younger, but most of them are going to be like 5th, 6th grade age. So, you know, if kids want to read about kids their age doing stuff, they're these. Read these with your kids. A couple other ones I want to do a real quick blurb. And I mentioned this one in previous video when I did a haul. The 13-Story Treehouse. Really fun. Middle graders will love it. It's funny. All kinds of craziness goes on. And another one is called The Bad Guys, and there's a whole bunch of those in the series. There's a whole bunch in both series. The Treehouse series has at least 8. Probably more than that. I think it's more than that. There's a lot. And the Bad Guys series I know has at least 14. Because when I was looking for books 2, 3, and 4 to request from the library, I saw book 14 listed, and I thought, wow, that's a lot. But they take no time to read. They are highly illustrated. They are funny. Bad Guys recently had a movie made. I'm on the waiting list for the movie. And I thought, oh, that looks really funny. And then I found out it was based on a book series, so I read the first book. And, yeah, it's funny. It's about, basically, Mr. Wolf is tired of being called a bad guy. He wants to become a good guy. And he invites his friends, Mr. Snake, Mr. Piranha, and Mr. Shark, to join him and form the Good Guys Club, and they do crazy little things to try to prove that they're really good guys and not bad guys, even though they all want to eat everything. that was kind of the running joke is, you know, can we eat it? No. There's a cat in that tree. Can we eat it? No, we're going to rescue it. Oh, why? Because that's what good guys do. We can't eat it? Yeah, the first book, it was a bunch of silliness, and it was just really fun. So if you have middle graders that like just random craziness, I would go with those two series. If they're not quite ready for novels, I mean, no illustrations other than like tiny little things at the headers of the chapters. I mean, that's the extent of illustrations in these books. And there's a map at the beginning. There's a map at the beginning. There it is. A map of the camp. I'm still not used to this camera. Anyway, there's that. But that's the extent of illustration in these. So you're looking at like 400 plus actual pages, 300 plus actual pages of novel versus the Treehouse series and Bad Guys series where they're highly illustrated. They're really more graphic novel type thing. They've got a pretty cute story. They're funny, a lot of pictures. So those are geared more toward the younger middle grades versus these that are geared toward the older middle grades. So just some ideas thrown out there if you have children that age or if you're teachers that teach that age. I might have a niece that is like a fifth grade. She just finished 5th grade, going into 6th. So she's kind of... She would probably be more the Camp Murderface type thing than the other things, but yeah, I kind of keep an eye out for things that I think she might like, and so I have been reading a lot of middle grade stuff off and on this year. I have a whole stack of Beverly Cleary books that I need to read, and part of that's because of reading the Newbery books, and part of that's reading the 1,000 books to read before you die or whatever children's books version. So I have a lot of Beverly Cleary, but I always did like her stories. I loved them when I was a kid. I still enjoy them. So there's that. And I think I'm going to stop here. Really, I just wanted to talk about those 2 books before I sent them back to the library. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Remember to do all the YouTube things. Comment, like, share, subscribe, ring the bell icon to be notified of future uploads. Maybe. And I guess we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.